You guys just keep sending me awesome top 10 ideas. We just did two not too long ago. I got a new one requested by my friend Panda Watch, and this one's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be top 10 ride or die duos in horror. Let's go. Little tip for you. Put your monster in the freezer for about 15 minutes. 15 minutes, maybe 20. You'll get a nice slushy in here, so it's like a monster slushy. It's really, really awesome. And this is one that was suggested to me by my friend Panda Watch. And you know, I threw out the idea during one of my last top 10s, dynamic duos, because I was talking about a specific scene, and the characters in that scene made me think, ooh, dynamic duos would be a good idea. But we're gonna take it a step even further and call it ride or die duos. And what's the difference is ride or die, these are people that will literally die for each other, you know? To the ends of the earth, they're inseparable. The intensity is raised quite a bit. Whereas dynamic duos, they might not necessarily die for each other. They're just awesome together. And that top 10 is definitely coming. But this one is irresistible, actually. So looking forward to giving you these. I actually got 2 honorable mentions, but these are gonna be some good ones, trust me. Now, I'm gonna cheat a little. The first honorable mention, I literally just came up with it like right as I was setting up, because I was looking at my t-shirt, and who's on my t-shirt? Drexel. This is a non-horror entry, even though there's a lot of freaking blood in this movie. But it's Alabama and Clarence from True Romance, and anytime I get to praise True Romance, I jump at the chance, right? Tastes like a peach. This movie is one of my all-time favorite films. And Drexel's such a great character, but for this countdown, Alabama and Clarence are definitely ride or die. It's just so funny how they were kind of thrown together, you know, in like a one-night stand, because Clarence's boss set him up with Alabama. And it was just like love at first sight immediately, you know, and in a twisted Tarantino type of way. Even though he didn't direct this, he wrote it. Tony Scott directed it. And it's one of those situations where I don't think I would even care to see the Tarantino directed version. No, let's not kid ourselves. That would be awesome. But I think the movie's perfect as it is. But these two characters go to the ends of the earth. There's so many standout scenes in this movie that pop out. You know, the scene where Alabama is like getting tortured. The scene at the end with the massive shootout. Through it all, they're in it together, no matter what. You know, ride or die, they will never leave each other, and they're together at the end of the movie. One more honorable mention, and I got in a little bit of an argument with Panda Watch on this one because she didn't think this one belonged on here. I think it does. You let me know. It's Billy and Stu from Scream. Yeah, they're a dynamic duo, but I guess the question is, would they both die for each other? You know, because Billy is the selfish one here. Billy's the one with the whole game plan. He wants revenge on Sydney. And really, he's kind of using Stu. So I think I might be wrong on this one, but still, the two are just irresistible. And we really don't know if they would die for each other. They might, you know, because it's just really intense at the end of the movie. So I had to throw them on here. Okay, here we go. Top 10. Number 10 is going to be Aliens. Another one that can kind of be questionable, but it's Ripley and Hicks, played by Michael Biehn, and of course Sigourney Weaver. I think if these two would have had more than one movie together, you know, if they would have been in the first movie and the second movie, then I think there'd be no question. And it's obvious that the two are smitten with each other. I don't think there's an actual love there yet, but this is like the beginning of a ride or die duo, because I think eventually if they would have lasted another movie or two together, yeah, it would have definitely been ride or die, because they're both 100% for the cause, you know? They're both willing to die for the cause, especially Ripley, but really Hicks too. And, you know, I think I'm predicting the future on this one, but I think they both deserve to be on here. Number 9, I'm gonna go with Halloween 4. Rachel and Jamie. And really this one's an interesting one because at the beginning of the movie, Rachel didn't even want to babysit, you know? She was selfish. She was a selfish teenager. So I've always thought that Rachel had probably one of the best arcs in the entire franchise. And people don't even realize it, you know? She starts off as this person that doesn't want to babysit. By the end of the movie, she's literally holding Jamie off of the edge of a roof, you know, willing to die for her, going out of her way. Into the movie where she's in the truck and she runs over Myers, doing everything in her power to save her foster sister, not even her real sister. There's no question that she would die for Jamie. And we all know what Jamie Lloyd would become. You know, she is a ride or die type of person. She always loved Rachel, but even when she's 10 years old, she's right there in it, in the thick of it with Rachel. And when she's away from Rachel, all she wants to do is get back to her. You know, so the two are really just inseparable. And it's really the only case in the franchise that I can think of where a duo is like front and center and one doesn't overshadow the other. They're both equally important. I guess you could kind of say Tommy and Carr from Halloween 6, but I think it's more intensified with Halloween 4. Number 8 is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Gonna go with Trish and Tommy, played by Kimberly Beck and Corey Feldman. You know, this is a case where it's brother and sister. And Trish, she loves her brother so much. And she's such a great final girl on her own. Like, you wouldn't really even have to have Tommy, even though Tommy's such an important character in this movie. You know, I love how the end of the movie, they're in it neck and neck, and you got the scene where Tommy's like leaning up against the window and that great jump scare. It seems like Friday the 13th always has to use that type of scare with Jason or somebody jumping through a window, you know? You could do a top 10 window scenes in a Friday the 13th franchise. Maybe I'll do that. But both of them are getting some heavy Jason action too. You know, she's got the machete and she's beating the shit out of him with it. And then of course, Tommy at the end, he's shaving his head and he gets the ultimate Jason kill out of the entire franchise over any other actor in the franchise when he thrusts the machete into the side of Jason's head, and it's glorious. Number 7, this is one of my personal favorites, Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese from Terminator. I guess Michael Biehn's getting a lot of love here because I didn't realize he's also in Aliens. Do I even really have to prove to you that Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor were... There's another one too where like the arc is like perfection because again, she's like this shrinking violet, damsel in distress. I guess she's just like an everyday girl next door. Let's put it that way. And then she turns into this, pretty much the beginnings of a warrior by the end of the movie. But she couldn't have done it without Reese. And Reese really couldn't have done it without her by the end of the movie. And, you know, you got the beautiful love scene and everything, which kind of solidifies the deal. He came across time for her. It's, to me, in horror, and yes, the first Terminator is a horror movie. The greatest love story, or one of the greatest love stories ever, because we got another movie on this countdown that might trump it. And no, Town That Dreaded Sundown isn't on this countdown. Oh, thank you. Okay, number 6 is going to be the Crazies, the remake. I have not seen the original. Maybe one day I'll watch the original. I don't know. But a married couple in this one, David and Judy. Timothy Olyphant. Like, can you go wrong with Timothy Olyphant in horror movies? No, you can't. And then, of course, Rhoda Mitchell, who's been in quite a few horror movies herself. So putting these two together, making them a married couple in this sort of a zombie movie, because it's this chemical that gets released onto this small town and everybody becomes killers. And they're in more of a primal state than anything. You know, it's almost like a slow version of 28 Days Later, because it's sort of like a rage virus, but they're not like running. They're still kind of zombified. But I think Olyphant and Mitchell had great chemistry in this, and you really wanted them to see it through to the end. It was kind of heartbreaking when David's friend Russell, you know, we liked Russell quite a bit, but then once he slowly starts turning into one of the Crazies, and, you know, David has to pretty much kill his own friend. But, of course, he'll do anything to save his wife, Judy. And by the way, one of the best car wash sequences in a horror movie I've ever seen. Number 5, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2. One of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Probably one of my favorite horror movies. I freaking love this movie. Panowatch beat me to the punch on this one, but I always like to think I would have put it on here anyway. And of course, it's Jesse and Kim, who looks almost exactly like Meryl Streep. No, she looks exactly like Meryl Streep, okay? I love this too, and it's almost like a reverse type thing because, you know, everybody says that Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is like a gay horror movie, which I believe it is, even though it doesn't come right out and say it. But I think you can see that in the relationship between these two, because it's almost like Kim is saving Jesse, because Jesse's I don't want to call him a damsel in distress, but he is the victim of this movie. You know, I think he gets it the worst out of every single Freddy victim in the entire franchise, because he is psychologically tortured throughout the entire movie. And by the end of the movie, he literally has Freddy come out of his body. And that amazing performance by Mark Patton, which it seems like it doesn't get noticed as much. I mean, his performance in this movie, I think, is just jaw-dropping. But the only thing that gets him through it, that's always there for him, is his friend Kim. And even still to this day, these two actors are together and they're great friends, you know, and it really just bleeds through. It's one of those cases where the on-screen chemistry is so strong that there's no way they can't be friends in real life. Number 4, Christine. I'm cheating a little bit on this one because it's a car, but I guess the love affair between Arnie and Christine is undeniable. But Arnie, throughout the movie, he just becomes intoxicated with this car. And the same thing really with Christine. You know, Christine loves her owner. She'll do anything to protect Arnie. And they're both not good at all by the end of this movie. And you kind of feel bad for Arnie because he starts off this nice kid. But, you know, this is like every making of a villain. You know, they're the kid that's picked on, and eventually they're influenced by the wrong people, or in this case, a car. And, you know, it's that sense of power that takes over Arnie. And by the way, this is easily one of Carpenter's most underrated scores ever. Matter of fact, one of my favorite intros I've ever done, not to toot my own horn, but man, I had a lot of fun putting together the intro for this review. And it was a VHS review to boot. Show me. Okay, number 3 is going to be a TV series, Sam and Dean from Supernatural. I mean, you got to put them on a ride or die top 10 list because they love each other so much. They've been through so much together. They have literally died, I think both of them, a time or two throughout the entire series. I think in terms of like the most intensified love for siblings, you can't go wrong with Sam and Dean. I mean, I could literally make my own top 10 list of most like endearing scenes between the two throughout the series. And talk about just building characters. And of course, if you're doing a TV series with how many seasons do they have now? I think, what was it, 15 or something like that? 15 seasons. But I think part of what makes the show work so well too is just how different they are. You know, it's like the yin and the yang. One of them is kind of a brain, and the other one, he's the dumb guy, but he's tough, you know? And they both equally are passionate about their love for each other as brothers. Okay, number 2, and this might be a surprise for you, but after I say it, not really, is From Dusk Till Dawn with Seth Gecko and his brother Richard Gecko, played beautifully, actually, by Tarantino. This is definitely my favorite George Clooney role, too. I'm not like a George Clooney fanatic or anything. He's a good actor, but I love just how in your face he was in this movie, because they're criminals, you know? Seth will do anything to protect his brother Richie, who has a condition, you know? And let's just go ahead and call a spade a spade. He is pretty much a pedophile. That's controversial material for a movie, you know, that makes you like, wait, why am I rooting for this guy? You know, and that's just the brilliant writing of Tarantino and Rodriguez. But damn, this movie is so damn fun, and the reason for that is just watching these two work together. I mean, right from the opening scene, they're literally walking out of this convenience store, blowing up behind them, and they're arguing. So it's one of those cases where these brothers, they constantly argue with each other, and Richard drives Seth crazy, but don't you dare cross either one of them, especially Richard, because Seth, he's coming right at you. And number 1, Return of the Living Dead 3. And there was no way that Panda Watch was not going to let me put this one on the list. Judy and Kurt, and I like it too because it's a passionate couple, you know? And it just so happens that Julie is turning slowly into a zombie throughout the movie. So it's kind of heartbreaking as you watch it, because she and Kurt are together throughout this mess, and Kurt is going out of his way to just try to save her. And he knows that eventually his girlfriend is going to turn into a zombie, and he's gonna probably have to kill her. But he's not leaving her. He's not killing her right there on the spot. He loves her so much, and she loves him so much. So it's one of those just really heartbreaking situations. And visually, man, this movie is so damn awesome, especially when she becomes a zombie. And that iconic scene where, you know, she presents herself in full awesome zombie badassery. And you know what? It makes me so happy that Return of the Living Dead 3 is really starting to get more of a cult following. Everybody that's seen it seems to love this movie. It is one of my favorite zombie films out there ever. I slightly prefer the original, but it's hard for me to say because the two movies are just so different from each other. And so sometimes I'll be in the mood for the first one, sometimes I'll be in the mood for the third one. I have not seen the second one yet. I still need to see the second one, but I'm just happy and proud to be able to put Return of the Living Dead 3 as number 1. So anyway, guys, let's see in the comments, did I forget any? This is a tough list to put together, actually. There's not that many ride or die horror duos out there. Now, I know Tucker and Dale's one of them, but I haven't seen that movie, so I couldn't put it on here. But yeah, let me know if there's any in the comments. Now remember, ride or die, that means they'll both die for each other, okay? So, and I will be doing a dynamic duos list as well. I'll try to put a lot of different characters on that list than in this list. And thank you, Panda Watch, for suggesting this one. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day on Fridays. We do free for our Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon and buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.